Hi, everybody. How are we? Jake Riddell here. We are here with a new episode of WAKO Kickboxing Talks. I'm really excited to be here today. We're going to talk about the upcoming WAKO World Championships. Okay, so these are the Junior World Championships. So it's for younger cadets, older cadets, and for junior competitors. Again, this tournament is running in Budapest in Hungary, and there's going to be people traveling from all over the world. So again, just a super exciting time, really big tournament, really big highlight of the kickboxing year. We're going to use this episode today as a chance to go over a few things that might be helpful in the run up to the competition. So different countries will do different things. And the number one thing that you should remember here is that you should stick to your training and you should be listening to your coaches. Okay, so these are kind of broad things that we just have on our mind coming up to the competitions and as we're finishing up our training. But your own clubs and your own coaches and your instructors and every person, every athlete, even if you're on the same team or from the same country, you might be doing different things. People have different preferences, different coaches like different things. So you want to make sure that you're communicating properly with your club coaches and then your national federation and national coaches as well. So at this stage, people will still be training in their clubs. People might be doing their own individual training. People might be doing maybe one-on-one sessions with their coaches or with other people. And then also, depending on your national federation, depending on your team, you might still have your national squad training sessions as well. Some of them will start to wrap up. I was actually at one myself today for Team Ireland. Again, brilliant to get the whole team together. Different countries are running different ways and over different timelines. But again, great to get the team together, great to get a bit of moving around, and it points really well to how things are going to go in Budapest. So we're going to use today as a chance to just go over a few of them things that your club coaches have been telling you that you've been hearing at your national squad sessions. Anyway, they're on the top of your mind. Maybe you're taking them every day as you go. Maybe you're keeping them at the front of your mind. But again, just a chance to check in with them and remind ourselves of them things. So nerves can be a big thing for all athletes. Okay. You can see now anybody that's been watching the Olympics coming up, even athletes like senior athletes that have been competing. There's people that have been competing at many different Olympic games, which again are a huge event that are still experiencing nerves. And they're also very vocal and very public about it because it is something that everybody experiences. Whether you're traveling to the World Championships at the end of this month, you're going to a small tournament, maybe a local tournament, an international tournament again, so not the World Championships, but maybe a World Cup or a European Cup. Whether you're traveling to them, you might experience a different level of nerves, but the nerves are going to cause similar enough things for you wherever it is that you're competing. Some people experience nerves as they maybe go to training, and this can be a really useful thing to learn to, I say, overcome, to learn to deal with, and you can transfer these across different skills. So you practicing how you're going to attack or deal with these nerves, that can be really helpful for when you experience nerves outside of you doing sport. So you being able to deal with these nerves transfers over to how you might experience that maybe if you were a younger athlete in school, or you were someone that was experiencing this kind of nerves or stress outside of your life, maybe in a job or in some sort of test or a situation like that. So it's not like it's just boxed off within the kickboxing world, boxed off within that one situation. You're able to transfer them skills over. So some of the things that you might experience while you're doing that, you're able to bring them with you and carry them on throughout your life. Which again, for younger athletes, it's brilliant for kind of your families or your parents, people there to be able to kind of see you do that and equip you with them kind of skills. But it's not something that just goes away either. And again, I call back to the Olympics when we're talking about that. You see how senior athletes who've been competing at different Olympic games, or even athletes in your own club or athletes on your national team, even talk to them about it and see how they deal with it. And then I'm sure many of them will tell you the same thing, that they do experience these nerves and they have managed them better and they deal with them better. But for many, then they're not gonna go. I know some people do, and that's brilliant. But for many, some people might continue to experience them, and it's just how they develop and how they practice dealing with them. Some things that I've heard over the years, and I guess I was speaking to coaches before recording this episode today, speaking to different athletes. Yeah, just to kind of gather around a few ideas. Some of the ones that came up might have been, and I know we did an episode on this before, maybe like positive self-talk or kind of visualization. Some people do meditation. Journaling can be really helpful. People kind of journal through their sessions or their thoughts. And again, one of the big things I know myself and Elijah talked about this before was the idea of like having a routine. So again, being able to recall your training and being able to stick into situations that you've been in situations like this before. That doesn't mean you've been to the World Championships before. This might be your first time traveling to a World Championship, but you're able to recall times that you were nervous before and being able to say, well, what did I do in that situation and how did I overcome them? And that could be a warm-up routine. I know I've spoke before about the idea of like packing your bag up and kind of making that not a ritual, but kind of making that a pattern and making that a routine that kind of brings you a bit closer to the ground, especially if you are someone that's kind of feeling them nerves. So again, some having that kind of routine is something that can be really helpful in that situation. But again, yeah, we have loads of them different ideas. I'd be really interested to find out what it is that works for you guys. So send it in to us or comment underneath here. Let us know what you think. And again, you can practice that in the moment, but it's good to have practiced them things a little bit before then. So be able to know the things that, if I'm feeling nervous, these maybe three or four things are the things I'm going to try, and then I'll move on to the next step. Some things can be really helpful. Again, one of the big things, and I mentioned it there a minute ago, I'm going to recall it now as I'm talking, is the idea of talking to the people around you, like communicating about this. This is something that lots and lots of athletes experience. This is something that loads of people experience. On top of that discussion about nerves and about the little things that are making people feel a bit better, coming into now, I think now at this stage, it might be a little less than 2 weeks before. So you're coming into maybe a week and a half left before you go. The idea that you can keep working on your training, make sure that you're talking to your coaches, make sure you're listening to your coaches. And again, that'll be your club coach. Your club coach will be having a discussion or conversation with your national coach. You want to be having these discussions, talking about it, know what's going on, and be sticking to the things that you've been working on, be sticking to the things that you've been planning. Now, again, some people will do things differently. When I was talking about it with different coaches, I've been speaking to different coaches over the last few days. One of the things that kind of shined through was like that this is not the time to go off and veer off the things that you've been working on, veer off the plan. If it is something that you've been working on, now's the time to stay focused on them things, stay dialed in on them. The temptation as you get closer to do more and more, do something big, do something really, really big training session. Really say, when I say big, let's imagine like a really long training session, or to do something just different than what you've been doing before. That temptation, especially if you've been working for a long time over the last few weeks or over the last few months, even towards something, sticking at a plan, the temptation to veer off that for a lot of people, and especially for younger guys, can that can be a really big temptation. So again, make sure you're talking to your coaches, understand, talk to other athletes as well, and see how they're feeling about it. It's a feeling that a lot of people will experience. It's the idea that I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Coming up to what's happening, coming up to World Championships, or coming up to a big event, coming up to what you're working towards. The idea will be to stick to what you're working on, stick to the plan, listen to the people around you. You have a team around you that you've been working with. The idea is that you're gonna stick with them and you're gonna listen to them. And that might be made up of different people. I mentioned there, a national coach, club coaches. You might have a team of coaches involved. The idea is that these people are discussing with each other. You're also involved in that conversation, but you know what's going on and you know why you're doing it, and how you're going to do it, and when you're going to do it. They're things that you're practicing now. People will be working on different skills, and you might work them in different settings. You might be split between different clubs, or you might be maybe cross training. You might be doing, let's imagine, for an example, a strength and conditioning. And then you might have your technical sessions. You might have just general fitness sessions. Stick to the plan. Stick to what your coaches are talking about. Different coaches will do different things. I've said this loads of times, especially here on this podcast. People in my club are probably sick of me talking about it. Get the gear together, get the bags together. We've had episodes on here talking to kind of the gear distributors over the different sponsors. So you make sure you have your gear, make sure you know where your stuff is, make sure you have all that stuff at home. You don't want that to be bothering you over, the days before you're traveling. So now would be a good time to even start thinking about that and start getting them things together. Another thing like your uniforms, all your equipment and stuff like that that you're going to need. things like that. Know where it's going to be, know how you're going to do all that. And again, trusting your coaches becomes really important in this next part. And for any coaches listening, I guess be aware of the routine or the schedule of the tournament. So we've had people on these podcasts here on these episodes talking about the upcoming tournaments. So be aware of the schedule, be aware of when the fighting is starting, the opening ceremony. You'll be able to check all these out through sports data, or emails may have been sent out. All the information is there on sports data. So you'll be able to check the schedule, be aware of opening ceremonies, weigh-in times, weigh-in dates. For people that have multi-day weigh-ins, you want to know where they're going to go on, where they're going to be, what times they're going to be at. These, and even if you can't find that information now, some of that information will kind of come, will be, some of that information will come together while we're over there. Just being aware of the things that you need to know, things that are going to be important for you, your athlete, and your team. Them things are good. So even to be thinking about them things now, so that as you get closer, you have more headspace to be able to do the rest of the things, to be able to be present, and to be able to, especially if you're a coach, be there for the athletes, be there for the team. If you're an athlete, you have more energy, more kind of focus to perform the best. You're not kind of stressed or worried about them things, which again, I say small things, they're not small things, but you have less headspace. Your head is filled less with them things, which again leads us to have more headspace for performing, which is what all of the athletes have been practicing or training for a really long time to be able to do. So again, coming up to the next few weeks, you'll be tempted, like I was mentioning earlier on, to veer off the plan, to maybe, like I mentioned earlier, doing a long session or doing a different type of session or training differently or doing things like that. Recovering and making sure that you look after yourself and look after your body. And then even that kind of mental recovery as well, being able to take the time to recover so that you're able to perform and train in the next day. All of that. Again, loads of athletes will already be aware of this. So what I'm highlighting is that temptation coming up to, before people travel away, people will talk about feeling like they're gonna, again, veer from that plan, do more. And again, all of these things are kind of interconnected. They're all tied together. So if you're very nervous, you might struggle to sleep. Maybe you might struggle to rest. That's going to impact your recovery. And as I'm talking about it now, it can be challenging. The idea of having all them things spread out can be challenging, but it is true. Like you would practice a skill, like you would practice, like, say, a jab cross, or a roundhouse kick or a side kick, like you would practice a technique like that, or like you would practice a skill. These things that I'm talking about now are also skills that you're practicing and that you're developing. And like that, like I talked about earlier, they lend themselves well to different parts of your life, and they can help you in different parts of your life. So it's not that they're wasted. It's not that they just exist in this your kickboxing life, in your club, in when you're at tournaments. They follow you around and they're with you throughout. But do talk to the people in your club. If this is something that's popped up for you, do talk to them about it, and they'll tell you. Everyone has stories like that. They're all super interesting. They're all very different, and they're all super interesting. I'd love to hear more about them. If anyone wants to send a message in or comment here. If I meet you at a tournament, I'll be over about. If I meet you at a tournament, I'd love to hear about it. These things are always so exciting. I love hearing about it. I think them things are brilliant. People in my club are listening to me and the other coaches and the other people in the club are talking about this and loads of other things all the time. So conversations like that are really interesting. And again, like I said earlier on, they can help other people. So you're able to spread it around. And guys, that brings us to the end of today's episode. Best of luck to everybody that's competing in the upcoming World Championships. Really excited to see how it goes. We did an episode a while ago with Brahman Dan, who spoke a little bit about at the Senior World Championships, spoke about live streams and about different things like that. Details and schedules and timetables and stuff can be found on sports data for people that are looking, and links for people that aren't traveling and want to watch along. All that will go up on different across different WAKO platforms closer to the time. So I know in the last years they've kind of been scheduled the day or two before, which is really helpful for people that are sharing links and stuff like that. But yeah, guys, thanks so much for listening today. Best of luck to everybody over there. I'll be over there. If you see me, come up and say hello. I'd love to talk to you. And yeah, guys, best of luck. Stick to your training. Stick to the training. Be able to perform your best. Execute your plan. Enjoy yourself. Have fun. Okay. And talk to you soon, guys, right? See you later.